Alright, hey everybody. In this video, I'm going to try to go over how to set up the Quake level design starter kit here, which is going to allow us to use Trench Broom to create custom Quake maps. So there used to be a video that I used for this that someone else made, but it's out of date and I'm not going to be in class this week, so I wanted to go through the new steps. I've honestly never even tried the second half of these because it looks like they changed how the compiler works. You're using a new thing. I think the new thing will be better and easier ultimately, but I think the setup's going to be a little confusing, so I wanted to walk through it. Bear with me. They're doing some kind of insane construction outside my house, so even if you can't hear it, it might distract me a little. And I've never tried this before, so maybe I get hung up. But either way, here goes nothing. So let's see. This is the Quake level design starter kit. GitHub, this gentleman made it and has basically just collected a bunch of tools and written some documentation that make it easy to find all of the different tools you need in one spot and get it all set up. So the first step is to click on releases over here and download the latest release, which you have to scroll down and you see I'm on Windows, so I downloaded this one, and then you gotta extract it, which I have already done. So here I am. Here's the thing. All right, so that step is good. I might try to make this so I can kind of see the instructions and my Windows Explorer stuff at the same time. Hopefully this is reasonable to read at home. We'll find out. So we're going to go over here and it says read the instructions. All right, let's do it. I already did this. We're going to go to where it says set it up, and it says locate and open the thing. Did that. It says create through 3 new directories inside the tools / Iron Whale subdirectory. So tools, Iron Whale, and I'm going to start making folders. So first one is just called id1, all lowercase. Second one is called maps, and it needs to go inside of id1. So new folder, maps. We want to use all lowercase generally because that's just how Quake is, but I would also say if they tell you to do it a certain way, like follow it perfectly. Some of this stuff is definitely case sensitive possibly, and there's certain characters that can mess things up too. So anyway, just be precise and accurate as you follow the instructions. It says now I need a working directory at the root level. So the root level is this one, right? This is the root of my Quake level design starter kit stuff. And I want to make a new folder called working. And then it sounds like inside of that, I want to make a subdirectory called Quake. All right. And now I need to figure out where my local Quake installation is. So I used Galaxy to install it. So let's see if I can figure out. I think I have Galaxy open on like a different monitor. Let's see what happens when I click that. Okay, this works. I'm not gonna update now. All right, so I installed Quake Enhanced, and so if you click this and you hit Manage Installation, you hit Show Folder, it'll show you where it installed. If you use Steam, there's kind of a similar deal with Steam. You just like look up how to find where Steam installs your games, and you should be able to find the Quake folder, right? And here I need to go find pack I guess just pack 0 these days. It explains this. If you had the old one, you have pack 1 and pack 0. The new version is just pack 0. Okay, so I need to put that inside of tools iron whale id1. All right, so I'm not going to move it. I'm going to make sure I copy it. So control C or copy it. And I'm going to go back to my other world over here. So tools, wait, what did it say? Tools, iron whale, id1. Tools, iron whale, id. I made up the one part. Oh, it is supposed to be id1. Oops, I screwed up already. Here, I was telling you to be so careful. I'm definitely rushing, so bear with me. Like I said, I got a lot of stuff to get done. So I wanted to paste this in here. Boom. Okay. And if I mess up, I guess it'll help us get an example of how to look up how to debug, right? But I'm going to try not to mess up. All right. So I think I did all this junk. So now we want to configure the game profile. Before I get to this, let's just test like if this works. So if you want to run the game, first of all, you probably want to make sure that you have file name extensions and probably hidden items too shown here. So Iron Whale is a open source Quake engine, because when like they originally made the Quake engine open source, people could kind of like enhance it and make versions that were more compatible with current hardware and more friendly to mods and things like that. Anyway, so Iron Whale is what we want to run whenever we want to play Quake or run our maps or whatever. And I just want to test it because at this point it should be working. And if you put your pack 0 in there, like you should see the correct art and everything. All right, it worked. Yay. All right. So now we got to set up Trench Broom. Trench Broom is the level editor. So Iron Whale is how we run the game. Trench Broom is how we edit our maps. So I don't know, maybe that's in tools. I don't know. No, I don't see it here. Level editor, right? Okay. So Trench Broom down here. Let's just double click that. We have to tell Windows this isn't a virus. Hope it's not a virus. It hasn't been a virus yet. Boom. Okay. So Trench Broom, same kind of deal. Like it is a free tool that was created to help make custom levels for a bunch of old games based on like Quake technology, essentially. So let's follow the instructions. In the Welcome to Trench Broom window, click New Map. I'm going to move this over here so when I click on stuff, it doesn't go away. So New Map, and select in the Select Game window, click Open Preferences. Got it. I'm going to go down to Quake. Got it. I am going to set the path to wherever Iron Whale lives. Because remember, Iron Whale is basically Quake for our purposes. So it looks like I have some sort of Trench Broom preferences saved from a previous configuration. So this is going to be, that's why all this stuff is filled in already, but it's not right, I don't think. So we're going to have to fix it. So in other words, you might not have anything here yet. So select Quake and set the game path. So I installed it here. This is where I unzipped it. And it's in Tools, Iron Whale. It's in Tools, Iron Whale. Yeah. Okay. This is where the ironwhale.exe lives. Next, I click Configure Engine. and it says add a new profile by clicking the plus button, and we're going to call it Iron Whale. So the old version used Quake Spasm Spiked. The new version is using Iron Whale. You won't have an old one unless you somehow did this in a past life. And now I probably have to set the path. um, which is the same thing I just did basically, except this time I think I got to go all the way to the exe. So ironwhale.exe. All right. I think that's good, and I can hit close. And now I have to leave the compilation tools fields empty. So let's just Control A, backspace, all that. I guess I'll hit apply and hit OK. And now for map format, so I'm going to click Quake, and I make sure the map format is on Valve, which appears to be the default. And then I'm going to click OK. And if we're lucky, so this will show up, and this is good. If we're lucky, if we go over here and only click entity, you should be able to see some stuff that looks like it's from the Quake game, like art. All right. So entity, scroll through here and look for Quake art. If everything looks like these like empty square cube drawings, then we didn't properly copy our pack 0, or one of our paths is wrong. And the path thing is really important. Like when we filled in all those paths, because like it can just get messed up really easily. Like if I were to rename something after I chose the path, it will no longer be the same path. Like the path is like the specific folder names that lead to a file, and if we rename a folder, it'll mess that up. So if we move a folder, that'll mess that up. So there are a lot of ways to mess it up. So if you notice it's wrong, you might just go back. Like I actually don't know how to get back to that, so I'm just gonna close Trench Broom and reopen it. Level editor, Trench Broom, where are we? Here we go. And we're just gonna like kind of do the same thing we did before. So you set this all up like we just did and just double check all the paths. That's the number one way things are messed up, if they're messed up. Anyway, let's go back to where we were in the tutorial flow. I guess I also want to point out I'm gonna send you to a video of Dump Truck DS, a tutorial video of how to use Trench Broom. And at this point, you can probably start following his tutorial. But when you get to like in his tutorial, which I'll timestamp it so you skip the part that I just did because it's his video is out of date now. But once you get to this step, it'll be yes, follow the dump truck tutorial until you get to this compiler setup part, which is going to be the next thing we do here. Here, I guess. And this is what we're going to do in our video now. So in Dump Truck's video, you can skip the compiler thing. It's not even the compiling GUI doesn't even appear to be in this. So anyway, sorry for being confusing. Just let's just keep following along with these instructions. All right. So all right, we got this going. We're going to save this. So save it in path to Quake, working Quake subdirectory. All right. So, I mean, I actually don't know if this will compile without like a player start. I'm going to put an info player start here, maybe. I don't know. Just something. And maybe like, boy, it's been a while since I've actually, yeah, whatever. This is good enough. We'll see what happens. All right. So it told us we want to save it. Um, I don't know, save document as. We want to put it inside this working Quake, I think is what he said. Yeah. And let's just call it like um, initial test. I told you the dumb lowercase rule, so I'll follow it. Okay, so I saved it. Now what's it say? Set up the compiler. This is the part I've never done. So click on run in the click on the run menu. All right, I'm gonna make this not full screen so I can multitask a little better. Um, Click on run, select compile map. Gotcha. Set working directory to, I think this is gonna mean, I don't know what this means. I wonder if this means, oh, I skipped a step first of all. Set name to compile. I can't tell if this is what we want. I think this is actually what we want, and that seems to already be there. So let's just try literally copying this, leaving it just like it is right now. Um, Add export map task profile by clicking plus. Export map. Okay. Set field path. So like my big question here is like, do I need to fill these in or not? I'm not sure. I think like when we set up the compiler originally, it's gonna like use those to substitute in for these variables. So I think kind of looks like this is like already set up. So we'll just leave it. I notice I have a typo. I'm operating at a high level here. Okay, so now we have to like, I'm just reading this. Sorry. Okay, so I mean, I guess that's done. Next says add a run tool task profile for each of the following. Um, Setting tool path to the respective paths. So how do I add a run tool path? Looks like there's spot for one of them here. And I guess maybe you can hit plus and add more over there. So let's fill in this first one that's just there by default before I start adding new ones. So the first one here is qbsp.exe. So we got to go navigate to that. We want to make sure we're in this same folder. And I'm guessing it's going to be in here, maybe? Yeah, level compiler. So QBSP, there it is. We will open that one. And it says we have to add some parameters, I think it said. No color. I can't tell if these are on the same line. I think they're on the same line. Maybe if I make what happens if I make this bigger? What would happen? Yeah, they're on the same line. All right, so um, I'm gonna select this text just like that. I hate these new little buttons, but whatever. I'll use it. Maybe I'll grow to like it. Who knows? That's just not what I'm used to. I'm going to Control V, paste that in there. And I would say maybe double check. There's just like, no, I'm using like my right arrow to make sure there's no extra spaces. And I'm going to press like the home button to go to the opposite side. Press my left arrow to make sure there's no spaces. And it looks like I copied everything perfectly, which I want to be careful about, I think. Now we need to do the same thing for Viz. These are just different tools that Quake uses when we compile our map so that it works efficiently on client computers when we play our map So we want to add a new run tool. And this time it's going to be viz. So we're still in this level compiler thing and we're looking for viz. There it is. I just double clicked it. And let's see, it has parameters as well. So it's going to try to accurately copy and paste this stuff. Control Z, Control V. And then now we're going to do light. Excuse me. And what are the parameters for light? All right. And next is BSP info. So one more, it looks like. Okay. And the parameters here, just like that. Oh, I would not be able to do this without this handy guide. Let's put it like that. All right. So enable stop on non-zero error code for each tool. Okay. And there's one up here. I think that's right. All right. Ensure all the tasks are enabled. I think that's like this checkbox. So those were checked by default. Okay. Add a copy files task profile. So I'm going to hit the plus button and I'm going to choose copy tasks, or copy files rather. I'm going to set the source file path to whatever this is, which I think these are variables that we just want to preserve exactly. And we want to set the target directory path to this. Just double checking I didn't add any spaces. Seems good. Click compile and verify everything works. Uh-oh, a moment of truth. All right, let's see what happens. Couldn't load. Okay, so it's not working, and I think what is standing out to me in this like output here, we got to get used to like reading the output. So that's right. The problem is, you see how it says dash compile? I don't think I have something called dash compile. That should just be initial test.map. So we got to figure out why that dash compile is getting added. And it looks like it's from this. And it looks like that was pretty intentional. So I'm confused. So like you can, let me just try to explain this. So it says it can't load this file. But that's not a file that exists, right? Like if I go in here, remember when we saved our map? We saved it in here. There is nothing called initial test dash compile.map. So we have to figure out maybe there's either maybe there's supposed to be a space here, or maybe we just delete that and just put .map. I'm gonna just carefully read. Here's the boring part of the video. Sorry. I'm gonna carefully reread this and see if I didn't mess something up. So I wonder if the problem is the order. Like maybe this has to happen first and then this. And remember, this was like just there and it was empty by default. So I was like, let's fill it in and use it. But it looks like these are like a sequence of steps. And the first step is basically like copying it to this compiled thing, which I'm not super sure why that step is necessary. Maybe it's just to make sure we don't break the original map. So I use this plus or this up arrow to move this step first, which would make sense because that's the order that they gave us. So it's first it's export map, then it's run tool, right? So I think it makes sense that these things happen in a sequence and that they should be exactly in the same order that the instructions gave us. So let's hit this again. Okay, so now with a different error. I'm just reading the output again. It's important. I know this looks like gobbledygook gibberish, but we need to read it. And I think like it's actually working. It's just like because my map isn't correct. It's like it's not correct. You'll learn about this in the upcoming tutorials. Like you're supposed to have um no gap, no like way for your map to leak out into the void like of infinity. So it's supposed to be like a box that's contained with no holes that lead out into the world here, the empty space void. And the fact that mine doesn't follow that rule, I think, is causing BSP to fail. I think maybe. Uh, but I think like the actual compilation worked because we can see like, or maybe it's not BSP that failed. Maybe I don't know what one of these things failed, but I think it actually did compile. So uh, so I think the way to verify this is to see that if it runs in the editor, or I'm sorry, in the engine. The Trench Broom is the editor, so the engine is Iron Whale. So let's keep going and set up this next part. Click launch, and I'm gonna just like get. Can I? Oh, I'll have to figure out how to get rid of that later. But hopefully, you just have one. In the launch engine window, set parameters to all of this junk. My favorite new Windows feature. Okay. I mean, it says click close, but I'm going to click launch, which I assume what's going to happen is it's going to open Iron Whale with my map playing. Uh, so it opened Iron Whale. Now we're going to read all this crap and see if it worked. So this is just like Quake setting itself up. Don't need to really worry about that. Now down here, couldn't exec auto exec.cfg. Game is already id1. Couldn't spawn server maps initial test.bsp. So I think maybe it did not compile correctly. Um, so I guess the way to test is like, did we? Oh, I did get a BSP. So it did make the BSP, but it appears that it's like can't load it. And I'm guessing it can't load it because whatever compilation problem didn't work. Um, Sorry, I'm just thinking again here. I want to be able to like read all of these at once. Almost. So I wonder what happens if I like turn Viz off and I turn light off for now, temporarily. Cause like I don't think I need those right now with my broken map. So that one maybe worked. Finished with exit code 0. I don't see any errors or anything. So if I go to launch and I choose Iron Whale and I hit launch, hey, check it out. Of course you can't see anything, but I think that's just because my map isn't right. So I'm gonna go out on a limb and just hope that works correctly. I guess the way to test it. Uh, Hold on, I'm gonna pause this and help you figure out how to test it for real. Okay, so I went over to my other screen and got the tutorial that I mentioned earlier from Dump Truck DS. And so this is where I think we should kind of start it at about 3 minutes in. I'm on this quick start tutorial. Um, you'll This is what we saw originally, right? I think what we should do, let me just like mute this, is follow the tutorial, and he's gonna kind of walk through how to use the very, very basics of Trench Broom. And then he's going to show you how to set up kind of like a map that in theory should compile correctly. So all of our maps need to have an info player start. I did put that in. But so we put him on there. It looks like he put a little texture on the floor. And then you're going to see he's going to kind of like create a room. And remember, like I told you, you're not supposed to have leaks out into that void. So I'm hoping that like creating the little room maybe is part of why it wasn't working. And he's just adding some extra details, which are important for you to learn. All right, but when we get to this part, so once we have this like test level set up, this is where you will skip the compiling stuff that Dump Truck is talking about here, because we're not using that. We're using this new workflow that we just tried to set up. And it's a lot of it is relevant, I guess I'd say. And like maybe it'll give us clues to what's not working right if we notice something's not working right. I don't have I guess I can pause the menu and build this, or pause the video and build this and see if it works. I should probably make sure it works before I stop. Okay, so it seems like some stuff has changed even more since last time I looked at this. So if you were looking at Dump Truck's tutorial, the old way that you would add WADs was you would go to face and there would be a plus button here, and then you could select the WAD. And WAD is what contains all the textures. And so the new way, I guess, I think, is you click on entity and you want to make sure you have the world spawn entity selected, which should be there by default, I think, unless you like click on something else, I guess. I don't know. Yeah, so like I could have info player start, but if I click on just nothing, it's world spawn, right? And inside of here, I think we can add WAD files now by clicking the plus that used to be over here. I don't know why they moved that. It maybe makes it so that your WAD files are connected to your map file better or something. I'm not sure, but it doesn't matter. I guess it is what it is. So I'm going to suggest that we go into the root version or the root folder of our Quake level design starter kit, go into extras, click on Quake, and look for Trench Broom Quake map source. And this has all of the map files from the original Quake game that John Romero made open source at some point. And the WAD file just has all of the textures used in those. So it should have all the stuff we need, I think. And I'm just going to open it. And then this is kind of a confusing option here. So absolute means the path to this WAD file goes all the way back to your hard drive. And so if anything changes ever between your hard drive and this, it won't work anymore. And that means if you move to a different computer that has this in a different folder somewhere, like if you put this in your desktop on one computer and it's in your documents in another computer, it won't work anymore. And since we are going to be doing some work on multiple computers, probably, like if you have a computer at school and a computer at home, we may want to try one of these other choices. I'm going to try this one, just see what happens. Because the map file, maybe we end up moving it. I think this one will be in the same spot always. So that's what I'm going to choose for now, and we'll see what happens. And now you can see if we click on face, there's a bunch of choices. Now, if you're following the original dump truck quick start tutorial, I can't swear that the particular textures he uses in that tutorial are going to be in here, but it doesn't matter that much. Like if he's trying to find some kind of brick texture, just use like any random one that sort of works, right? So it's not critical that it looks identical, but it should like get the point across that this looks like a floor or whatever. Eventually, we're going to use all different WADs and stuff anyway, so don't stress about it, I guess, is the point. Okay, so I just kind of like made my little surface a little bit bigger. I'm not going to explain how because that's covered in dump trucks tutorial. Then I went and I went to test this, and so I went to run compile map, and then I hit compile, and then I hit launch, and I just chose Iron Whale. And now I am believing I have it's sort of working, right? But the problem is I'm not seeing the texture that I used. That's the new thing to solve, and that makes me question whether my choice about how I imported that WAD was correct. So let's maybe redo that. So I'm going to go back to entity and make sure I have nothing selected. I'm going to go to these WADs, and I'm going to hit minus here, and I'm going to hit add it again, and I'm going to choose, and let's just choose absolute this time because like absolute is the most vulnerable to breaking later, but it's probably the most likely to work initially. And I just want to see if I can get it working, period. And if that, I want to rule out that that is the problem. So I'm going to save, Control S, save. I'm going to compile again. So run, compile map, compile. And then I'm going to launch, and I'm going to choose Iron Whale. Yeah, so the one that said relative to executable didn't work. I'm gonna test the other ones. I'll pause the video so you don't have to sit through all my tests, but I will report back. Okay, so I just tested a new one and it worked. So let's just do that again. I'm gonna go back to entity and I get on my world spawn entity. I'm gonna get rid of this WAD. I'm gonna re-add it again, choose the same one, and I'm gonna go to so last time we tried this and it didn't work. I'm gonna try this one because again I think the map is the most likely to move. This one didn't work, so let's try this one, right? uh and so luckily Trench Broom is cool and it remembers what texture I had on here, and now that that came back, even though I loaded it in a different reference style, it still connected the dots. I'm gonna save my map. I'm gonna go to run, compile map, hit compile, hit launch, choose Iron Whale, and this one seems to work. So that's what we're gonna go with, which I already forgot which one it was. I think it was relative to game directory or something. I don't know, but it's on video, so you can rewind and check it out. All right, this should get you to the point where you can complete the tutorial. If you want to I guess like once you get to the point, if you follow Trench Broom, or I'm sorry, Dump Truck's tutorial, he's gonna add lights and stuff. So you would need to go back in and at a minimum turn on light, which I think I unchecked. Where was light? I made this small again, and now I can't see them all at once. Yeah. So if I turn light back on, let's just confirm this doesn't break everything. It still seems like it worked. And I hit launch. I think that still worked, but there's one way to be sure. So what happens when you compile it, um, this is not what I want. Uh, when I compile it. So in Trench Broom, I'm working on initial test.map. So I have initial test.map. And when I compile it, it creates a .bsp file. And so if I delete that and I were to say go to launch and try to launch it, it probably wouldn't. Oh, somehow it still found it. I don't know how. That's interesting to me, but I guess what I expect is when I compile it, I'll get a new BSP back in there. So it's back, right? Because I just compiled it 1223. So it just happened like a minute ago. And so I'm thinking that it's still working. And I guess one way to test for real, I could like try to put a light in. You gotta bear with me because I really don't remember how all this stuff works. I just work in a lot of different things, and I have to bounce around, and I don't always remember like the nuances. So I guess I don't know. I'll just put this light in. I think that's how you do it. And I'm gonna save. And it's covered in the tutorial, so you'll find it. I'm gonna compile again, and I guess like if it's working right, it'll like maybe look. Oh, I hit test, not launch. Maybe I'll be able to tell. Is that a light spot there in that little chunk? Looks like it to me. Like this is dark, that is light. So I think that's working. Um, I guess maybe I can be more thoughtful about where I position it. So I will intentionally start it like exactly in the opposite corner of where my player starts. Just, I don't know, good habit to be like thoughtful of how we're going to really test, because I don't know, it looked right to me, but this is a better test to confirm. So I want to expect that it's brighter in the opposite corner based on where I start. So I'm going to have to recompile one more time. Run, compile map, compile, launch, double click. And that looks pretty like can confirm it's working, right? Dark, light. I'm happy. All right, I'm gonna call this the end of the video. Um, your all's job is going to be to watch my crazy, really long video, get this set up. Then you're gonna flip back to dump truck and go start from wherever I have it bookmarked. It looks like it's right here at 3 minutes and 45 seconds. And you're going to go through this tutorial, and it's going to teach you the very basics of Trench Broom. And when you get to the part about compiling, you're not going to do what dump truck says. You're going to do what we just learned, where you click inside of Trench Broom, you hit run, compile, do all this jazz, and then launch, and you have your game this way, right? That's the plan. This will be like hopefully the most confusing situation we have to navigate in class, but we'll see. You know, they're still like starting our multiplayer server later that we'll have to see if that still works. Anyway, thanks for bearing with me, and I look forward to seeing you all soon.